On DD India every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Tensions soar in Middle East as Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh is assassinated in Tehran. Hamas terms it as a severe escalation, vows retaliation. Israel attacks Lebanon's capital Beirut, claims a targeted strike against Hezbollah commander Mohsen Shukr. Fresh protest in Venezuela as anger grows at disputed election result. Organization of American States to hold an extraordinary meeting to discuss the situation. Death toll continues to mount due to landslides in southern Indian state of Kerala. Count rises to 154 as more bodies retrieved. Rescue ops continue. Right, big news we are tracking at DD India News. This time, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh has been assassinated in Iran's Tehran. In a statement, Hamas mourned the death of Haniyeh, who it said was killed in a treacherous Zionist raid on his residence in Tehran. The Revolutionary Guards confirmed that the residence of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran was struck in the morning, resulting in his and one of his bodyguards' death. Revolutionary Guard said the cause is under investigation and will be announced soon. Hamas officials termed it as a grave escalation, saying the assassination of Haniyeh will not achieve its goals. The Hamas chief attended Iran's new president's swearing-in ceremony on Tuesday. And in April this year, Haniyeh's three sons, Hazim, Amir and Mohammed, were killed after the car they were driving in was bombed in Gaza's Al-Shati camp. Two of Haniyeh's grandchildren were also killed in the attack and a third was wounded. Also, Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader who was killed in Iran, was the tough talking face of the Palestinian group's international diplomacy. Haniyeh was seen by many diplomats as a moderate compared to the more hardline members of the Iran-backed group inside Gaza. Haniyeh was an early advocate of Hamas entering politics. Appointed to the Hamas job in 2017, Haniyeh moved between Turkey and Qatar's capital Doha, escaping and enabling him to act as a negotiator in Gaza ceasefire talks. Three of Haniyeh's sons were killed on April 10th. When an Israeli airstrike struck their car. Israel regards the entire Hamas leadership as terrorist and has accused Haniyeh of continuing to pull the strings of the Hamas terror organization. Israel accused Haniyeh's leadership team of helping to divert humanitarian aid to the group's military wing. Hamas denied it. Haniyeh had met officials in Egypt, which has also had a mediation role in the ceasefire talks. Haniyeh traveled in early November to Tehran to meet Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And Palestinian President Abbas strongly condemned Haniyeh's assassination. Palestinian factions have called for general strike, mass demonstrations after Hamas chief killed in Tehran. And Sarah Coates now joins us from Tel Aviv for more. Well, Sarah, Israel itself did not immediately comment, but it often doesn't when it comes to assassination carried out by the Mossad intelligence agency. But Hamas also described the strike as severe escalation that would not achieve its goals. What's the latest?
Hello there. We still don't have any comment from the Israelis on the assassination of Hamas's Politburo chief Ismail Haniyeh. We do know that right now the senior Israeli officials, they're huddling, a lot of high-level meetings taking place. So we can potentially expect some movement over the next few hours. But on the ground right now, the IDF's Home Front Command has put out a statement saying that there's been no change to its directive to Israelis, although that will be updated if there is any change. But of course, this is a very fragile time in the region, and this comes just hours after Israel did say it killed a senior Hezbollah leader in Beirut. That happened just after, or just around 8 p.m. local time last night. So certainly, once again, a very, very fragile time in the region. We have heard from the Revolutionary Guards in Iran saying that there will be retaliation. There are also reports coming out saying that Haniyeh was killed by a missile that was fired from outside Iran. So still, of course, this is a developing story, and we will gather more information as the day goes on.
All right, Sarah, very fragile time indeed. There were concerns of war between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah following a rocket attack on the Israel-annexed Golan Heights. And Israel also struck Hezbollah's stronghold in southern Beirut in retaliation for the Golan strike. And Israel had vowed to kill Ismail Haniyeh, seen as a moderate though, and destroy the Hamas group. How do we see all this building up?
Well, Israel's war goals, this is one of Israel's war goals, and that was to completely eradicate Hamas, to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth. So certainly a lot of tension here in the region. There is, of course, the war going on in Gaza. There is, of course, as well, this heightened escalation on Israel's northern border there with Lebanon. What we've been seeing for the past 10 months now are these daily tit-for-tat cross-border strikes between Israel and Hezbollah. So once again, an extremely fragile situation. Israel still hasn't come out to comment on this assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. What we do know is that he was actually in a residential block. He was there to attend the inauguration of Iran's president-elect. Yes. So this has really thrown the region into even more chaos. Now, we have heard the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin speaking out. He says that if Israel were to be attacked, then the United States will defend it. So going forward throughout the day, what we can expect to see again are these very, very high-level meetings here in Israel. Of course, many, many meetings, many calls between senior Israeli and U.S. officials as they really assess this situation and what to do next.
All right. Sarah, if we talk about the Iran-Hamas relations, the U.S. and Israel accuse Tehran of having a hand in the attacks, and Iran rejects this, but its support for Hamas is well known. What is Tehran's relationship with the Palestinians, and where does Iran fit into the complex matrix of geopolitics in the Middle East? What's next for Iran's axis of resistance?
Well, we do need to remember that Hezbollah, also Hamas, which Ismail Haniyeh was the Politburo chief, they are all proxies of Iran. So, of course, they have a very, very close relationship. And we do need to remember what we were hearing from Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, during that congressional address about a week or so ago. He was standing there in front of Congress talking about this axis of resistance. He said that Iran and these proxies are the greatest threat to the West. So, of course, Israel has been threatening to target all of these high-level Hamas leaders like Ismail Haniyeh, also Yahya Sinwar, who is the head of the military wing. He is based in Gaza, and this is why the Israelis have really been moving down into these southern areas like Khan Yunis, like in Rafah. They've been targeting these tunnel systems, as that is where Israel believes the head of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Yahya Sinwar, is hiding. So this would certainly throw the region into more chaos now that Ismail Haniyeh has been assassinated in Tehran, and we are waiting, of course, to see what the Israelis have to say about that in the coming hours.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for all that update from Tel Aviv. And moving on, Hamas Chief Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated today, and Haniyeh assassinated in Iran's Tehran. One of Haniyeh's guard also was killed in the attack. Iran had said that the cowardly act will not go unpunished. On the other hand, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has strongly condemned Haniyeh's killing and considered it a cowardly act and a dangerous development. Palestinian factions called for general strike and mass demonstrations. On the other hand, Russia called for killing of Hamas leader unacceptable. According to the sources, Iran's Supreme National Security Council, with the presence of senior commanders of the guards, convened early Wednesday around 2 a.m. local time to discuss the assassination of Haniyeh, where he was staying in a special residence for war veterans in Tehran. Also, as per Israel Broadcasting Corporation, Ismail Haniyeh was killed by a rocket fired from a country outside Iran, not from Iranian airspace. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has said that he does not think war is inevitable in Middle East. He added that if Israel is attacked, the U.S. will help defend Israel. We'll work hard to make sure we are doing things to help bring the temperature and the escalation down. And moving on, the Israel Defense Forces said the top Hezbollah commander, Fouad Shukr, was killed in the Israeli strike in southern Lebanon on Tuesday. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said Shukr was responsible for the death of 12 children in Majdal Shams in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. He further said Fouad served as the right-hand man to Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah and was his advisor for wartime operations.
The IDF carried out a targeted strike in Beirut on Fouad Shukr, also known as Said Muhsin. Fouad Shukr was the right-hand man to Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader and his advisor in planning and directing attacks and operations. Fouad Shukr was the commander responsible for the Majdal Shams massacre, in which 12 children were murdered. The IDF will not tolerate terrorist attack on Israeli civilians.
Well, Venezuela is once again in political turmoil. United Nations and the United States have expressed concern, demanding an audit of the election results to end the stalemate that keeps the country in suspense. Protests nationwide have grown and hundreds of people have been arrested. DD India's Latin American correspondent Marituna Mena has more details. Take a look.
The opposition gathered in Caracas and other places across Venezuela to continue their claim over Sunday's electoral results. The clashes between protesters and security forces have been repeated since the election took place. Thousands of Venezuelans have taken to the streets showing their discontent and asking for a fair recount of the votes. Venezuela's government-controlled electoral board granted Nicolas Maduro the presidency for a third term. But the opposition casted doubts, saying the figures were fraudulent. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado says she has the tallies to prove that Edmundo Gonzalez is the real winner. So far, protests have left at least 11 people killed and more than 700 people detained, including key opposition leaders. Venezuelan government authorities have accused Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez of promoting a revolt aiming to revert the peace in the country. The government launched an investigation that could lead to their capture. In a written statement, the UN said that it's concerned about report of arrest. It's calling the authorities to respect the right of people to demonstrate. The Venezuelan Minister of Defense announced that a coup d'etat is underway, promoted by right-wing leaders, while members of the Venezuelan armed forces pledge loyalty to Nicolas Maduro. But the doubts are not only inside Venezuela. The Biden administration said it's closely monitoring election, demanding electoral authorities to release full, transparent, and detailed voting results. In Caracas, Marituna Mena reporting for DD India.
Well, the U.S. has agreed to provide $500 million in defense aid to the Philippines as part of Washington's ongoing efforts to counter Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific. The agreement was announced during a visit to Manila by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Ira Spitzer reports for more.
Well, this is just the latest example of the importance which Washington places on the relationship with the Philippines because of the potential to try and influence Chinese aggressiveness in the region with that friendly relationship. Things changed significantly when Ferdinand Marcos Jr. came to power in 2022. We've seen him come to the United States multiple times, as well as multiple visits by Secretary of State Blinken to the Philippines with this $500 million assistance for the Filipino military. This will go towards reportedly modernizing some of their forces, as well as other aspects of defense, such as cyber defenses, which is one area where countries could potentially be vulnerable to China, which has a very advanced cyber hacking capabilities. So this is part of a broader strategy, of course, by Washington. We've just seen Secretary of State Blinken in Japan, where they announced more cooperation with regard to the U.S. military facilities in that country. Of course, other nations such as Australia and others in the region are countries that the U.S. Is allied with and hoping to present this united front against China. With the big question with these sorts of things, such as what we're seeing in the Philippines, which is really directed towards Chinese aggression on some of those disputed territorial waters and islands. The big question is, will this actually change China's behavior in the region? We've seen, of course, this year, Filipino military vessels actually boarded in some cases by Chinese boats because of concerns that they have in those waters. So despite the U.S. pledges of financial assistance and also some sort of veiled threats of potentially coming to the aid militarily, if necessary, of the Filipino Navy, it's still unclear whether this will actually work to deter China's behavior at all, because, of course, China has put a tremendous focus on trying to establish some of these territorial claims in the Indo-Pacific. Reporting near San Francisco, Ira Spitzer for DD India.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Vietnam PM arrives in India for state visit to hold bilateral meet with Prime Minister Modi. A good news from Olympics as Indian teenager archer Bhajan Kaur moves to pre-quarters after winning first 2 rounds.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Vipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the death toll in the landslides that hit the Indian state of Kerala's Wayanad district has risen to 154 as more bodies retrieved from the debris. Days of ceaseless rain triggered a series of landslides on Tuesday, injuring scores of people, and several others are still missing. The situation remains dire, with casualties expected to rise. Union Minister George Kurian visited the incident site to assess the situation. The Army and National Disaster Response Force deployed several teams to rescue people, but relief efforts were significantly hobbled by the destruction of infrastructure, continuous rain and the swelling waters of the river, prompting forces to trek through treacherous terrain, even as 2 Indian Air Force choppers made their way to the affected areas. The series of landslides caked a roughly 10 square kilometer area in thick layers of soil and left boulders strewn across the 2 villages, even as streams of flood waters gushed through. On Tuesday, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan took stock of the situation with officials and reviewed the search and rescue operations. The Chief Minister has announced that the State Health Department has opened a control room. Amid the calamity, Kerala is bracing for more rain as the Weather Office has issued a red alert for 8 districts, including Wayanad and 7 neighbouring districts. 4 other districts are under an orange alert. The landslides are the worst disaster to hit Kerala since 2018, where deadly floods killed more than 400 people. And Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh is in New Delhi on a 3-day visit to further expand bilateral strategic ties. The Vietnam PM will hold bilateral discussions with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday. The visiting dignitary will also schedule to call on President of India Draupadi Murmu and Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is also expected to call on the visiting Prime Minister. Ministry of External Affairs in a statement said that India considers Vietnam as a key pillar of its Act East policy and an important partner in its Indo-Pacific vision. India and Vietnam share civilizational links and a long-standing friendship based on mutual trust. The visit is expected to further strengthen comprehensive strategic partnership between India and Vietnam. And India's Parliament session continues in New Delhi. Discussion on the Union budget continues in both the Houses of Parliament as Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman can reply to the budgetary discussion being held in Rajya Sabha or the upper house. The motion would be put to vote after the discussion is complete in both the houses. On the progress made towards introduction of the bullet train, Rail Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw told the House that project is complex and technology intensive. The Rail Minister told the House that experts from Japan are being consulted for detailed design. The lower house, the Lok Sabha, was adjourned till 12 noon. The government will also present the Indian Aircraft Bill 2024 in the lower house of Lok Sabha. Discussion and voting will be held on the demands for grants of railways for the year 2024-25 in the lower house. And moving on, Indian Meteorological Department has predicted active monsoon conditions over most parts of West and Northeast India over the next 4 days. These states include Maharashtra, Goa, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh and others. A red alert has been issued for central region of Maharashtra till August 3rd. Extremely heavy rainfall has been predicted for coastal and south interior Karnataka for Wednesday. The Weather Department has issued an orange alert for Konkan and Goa, West Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh till August 4th. An orange alert has also been issued for Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, West Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir on 31st July and August 1st. Recent heavy downpours have caused significant disruption in Gujarat, which has led to waterlogging and even a similar situation like a flood in many places of the states. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange warning for heavy rainfall in the state. A meeting was held in Gandhinagar by State Disaster Relief Commissioner on Tuesday with all the nodal officers of various departments like health, agriculture, civil infrastructure, water, irrigation, etc. to review the preparations by various departments with respect to the upcoming rain predictions. And now in sports, to all the updates from Paris Olympics 2024. And in just a while from now, Indian shooters are going to be in action in the qualification rounds at Day 5 of Paris Olympics 2024. Shreyasi Singh and Rajeshwari Kumari are going to play in women's shooting trap qualification round at 12:30 p.m. At the same time, Aishwari Pratap Singh Tomar and Swapnil Kosale are going to play in men's 50-meter rifle 3P qualification round. Meanwhile, India's star shuttler PV Sindhu will take on Estonia's Christian Kuba in women's single group stage at 12:50 p.m. IST. And later in the afternoon at 1:24 p.m. IST, Balraj Panwar will be competing in the semi-finals of rowing men's single sculls event. An Indian teenage archer, Bhajan Kaur, secured back-to-back victories in the women's individual event to advance to the round of 16 at the Paris Olympics 2024. The 18-year-old defeated Indonesia's Siefa Nurafifa Kamal and Violeta Mysore of Poland in her opening 2 rounds. So far, Bhajan Kaur has been India's best archer in the women's team event. She continued to impress with victories. However, her compatriot Ankita Bhagat, who finished 11th in the ranking round, was shown the door in the opening round of women's individual after losing to Violeta Mysore 6-4. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Vipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.